Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Blue Mountain Battalion, Millersville University, and Franklin and Marshall College commissioning ceremony for spring 2021. At this time, please stand for the playing of the national anthem and the invocation. Now I invite Pastor Scafone to offer the invocation.
Good morning. It's a privilege to be here. Would you bow your heads and join me in prayer? Our Father in heaven, we thank you for this day. We also thank you for our country and the many blessings and freedoms we enjoy. Today, as these 4 young women and men are commissioned, we also dedicate them to you. Thank you for the strength you gave them to complete their ROTC training, and thank you for their desire to serve our country. Lord, would you bless each one of them, give them wisdom and direction for their lives, help them to live up to the values that they have learned through their training. May they faithfully serve our country through the military. I want to also thank you for their families that have stood behind them and for those who are here to support them today. We also want to take a moment to remember family and friends who have passed away who could not be with us. And Lord, may we never forget the fallen soldiers who died to serve and protect our country. We are forever in their debt. We pray for our country and our leaders. Please give wisdom to the President and Congress as they deal with the challenges in our world today. May our nation remain strong and compassionate. May we be an example of freedom to the world. We are thankful to have a strong military, but at the same time, we pray for peace in the world. Please bless this ceremony today and prepare each of these women and men for the future that lies ahead of them. Keep them safe, watch over them, be near to them, and use them in the days to come. And we thank you that you hear our prayers. And in your name we pray. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. I am pleased to introduce Major Kevin Krupski, the Professor of Military Science for the Blue Mountain Battalion.
Thank you, Josiah. General Salisbury, friends, guests, mothers, fathers, friends, comrades, cadre, and the newest second lieutenants in the Army. I'm just so happy to be here right now to be able to congratulate you on the end of one journey and the beginning of an even longer one. This is a momentous occasion. In a few short moments, these cadets are about to take an oath to the Constitution. And that's something that they will continue throughout their careers to say that oath every time they get promoted. And I expect a lot of promotions out of these soon-to-be lieutenants. And they'll become commissioned officers in the United States Army, leaders of character. And when I look at the four young men and women that you see on this stage, I see commitment and I see character. Because one theme, and I said this yesterday at Dickinson's commissioning ceremony, one thing that I have seen as a theme since I've been here as the professor of military science is resiliency. And the young lieutenants that you see before you have shown resiliency in everything that they've done. They showed resiliency in every weekend, in every morning, in every leadership lab, in every field training exercise, in every test that has come to them, they have shown resiliency. In every class that they have taken, they have shown resiliency. It's not about how hard you get hit, it's how you come back. And that's what I'm talking about, because I know that whatever life and the Army and the enemies of our country throw at these young individuals, they will show resiliency, and they will overcome all. And and because of that, they're going to earn the greatest honor, the honor to lead America's sons and daughters. Some of you out there, they will have the honor to lead. And so that is something that I take dearly. I know that many of us in the audience take dearly, and I know that they take dearly as well. So before I go into introductions, I just want to say some thank yous. All right, I want to say thank you to our cadre, to Sergeant First Class Rivard, Master Sergeant Long. If everyone would just give a round of applause to them. I cannot say enough to what our non-commissioned officers mean to the development of these lieutenants. And they can probably speak more volumes than I can for the impact that they have had in the mentorship and coaching that they have given them. And it will pay you dividends in the future. So thank you, Sergeant Rivard and Master Sergeant Long. And a special thank you to your families. Right? That commitment and character piece, that didn't just happen because of ROTC. It was something that was innate within them. And that is a result of the upbringing, the family and friends that have been part of the development of you. So thank you to the friends and family of all our commissionees today. So I have the distinct honor to introduce Brigadier General Beth Salisbury as our guest speaker today. General Salisbury enlisted in the Army Reserves in 1987. She ended up coming to Millersville University out of Elizabethtown College, and she graduated as a distinguished military graduate of Millersville ROTC. She has commanded in Qatar. She's commanded a medical brigade in Fort Devens, Massachusetts. She's commanded a combat stress control company, and she supported Operations Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom, Operation Inherent Resolve, Operation Spartan Shield. I think I'm going to lose count here. If there has been something that the Army has done in the past 3 decades, General Salisbury has been a part of it. And as a member of the Army Reserves, she's a true citizen soldier, owning complete therapy care, and somehow finding the spare time to do that in addition to her duties. And currently is the Deputy Commanding General of Operations for 3rd Medical Command. Ma'am, thank you so much for being here. And without further ado, General Salisbury.
Good morning. I think I'm having flashbacks from my ROTC commissioning days. So thank you. Good morning, Millersville and Franklin Marshall faculty and staff, ROTC leadership here today. Soon to be new second lieutenants, right? Family and friends, all of you in this room, the reason these young folks are sitting up here today are because of you. Thank you to all the veterans, family members who support them, and you as serving members of the military or families who support those of the military. They would not be here today without all of you in this room. And it's vitally important that you're here to support them as they move forward in their next careers, and they will continue to need you even though they may not think they do. As you can tell, I am excited to be here today because this institution is special and a preeminence faculty and its reputation for academic excellence. The commissioning ceremony, both for it is purposeful that makes you uniquely different from many of your other classmates. Most of the students on a college campus are engaged while they are here in processes of discovering themselves. Well, you will no doubt have done that, but your process of self-discovery has been animated by a special cause, that of service to others and to this nation. In particular, to the nation and to the soldiers who we placed under your command. Yesterday was Armed Forces Day, and thus a great day to participate in this commissioning ceremony. Thank you all for allowing me to be here on such historic day. I don't recall 31 years ago who spoke at this commissioning ceremony, to be honest, and neither may any of you after I'm done speaking today. When I am finished speaking today, though, thank you, because shame on me for not recalling who the speaker was, because when they were finished speaking, I'm sure that there was some topic or some nestle of information that I probably ought to glean from that person, but I don't really recall who that was. Shame on me. As a previous ROTC graduate at Millersville University, the cadre and fellow ROTC cadets would probably be amazed that I'm standing here before you today, and that I'm still in the Army and a general officer, because I never thought that I would ever get to this rank, and I'm very grateful and honored to be here. I was a good ROTC cadet, but not an outstanding one. I listed in 1987, and I joined ROTC as an MS3 grad, and participated from then on through till I got my commission here. I was an SMP and had no clue what that really meant, but I learned from which units that I had drilled with what it meant to be going from an enlisted soldier to an officer today. But just like everything else, you learn the rules of the road, and sometimes harder than others. I ended up on the Ranger Challenge team by default. I think that was your experience this year, right? On the Thursday before the ROTC Ranger Challenge, someone broke their ankle, and the major who was in charge of us at the time, Major Laura, called me and said, "You got to come do this." And I said, "Okay." And we actually placed 7th out of 100-some teams, I believe, that year. So it was pretty good. Also, so I learned what to do in that Ranger Challenge team that demonstrated leadership. And I think many of you, as I understand, have a great team at this organization, and he talks much about your leadership and how you all come together and create a team, whether it's Ranger Challenge or whether you do it as a total ROTC organization. Use those skills moving forward. I tell everybody, what I want you to think as you pin on your lieutenant rank today is what legend will you leave as an Army officer when you're no longer here as a cadet and you move forward as being an officer in the United States Army? Those soldiers you will lead shortly will expect nothing less of you. Prove it to them that you're a worthwhile leader, which you've already demonstrated that here, otherwise you wouldn't be sitting here today. Okay? Some soldiers will surprise you, others will amaze you when you least expect it, and others you will think are bound for greatness, while others will disappoint you that you lead. Take the time to talk to the young enlisted soldiers. Often, their rank they wear on their uniform is deceiving. And just asking a simple question of, tell me what you do, or what school you're in. They are smart, well-educated, and many of the soldiers in your commands will have more degrees, and many of them in my command have much more degrees than I could ever dream of. They're smarter than I ever was when I was an enlisted soldier or an officer as a second lieutenant. You just have to ask them. The Chief of Staff of the Army's priority is people first. Get to know not only the soldiers, but their families. Just like all of you in this room, I try and take time to learn who my soldiers are and their families and what they're all about. Because you all bring to bear for the Army your information, your wisdom, and your knowledge that help educate leaders in the nation today. Get to know them. They allow us to do what we do, and you all who know have sacrificed far more than we have sometimes when we're serving our nation. Find mentors. I think you all have been linked with a mentor. Is that true? Yes? Okay. Find more than one. Most of my mentors do not outrank me. Some of my best mentors are the youngest folks I meet out in the field who impress me with their knowledge, education, and dedication to the military. I learn more from them than I ever do anywhere else. Find a mentor who can be brutally honest with you, listen with an open mind, and don't be offended when they give you frank feedback. Find mentors who don't stroke your ego, but aspire you to great things. Find mentors who you think are differently than you, have opposing views to you, and work in a job in a vastly different than you, as this will make you look at things differently and learn unique ways of solving problems. One of my most valued mentors is my CSM. I was telling the major about her, and that's a whole other story with the chief of staff at the time of the Army, General Milley, who's now the Joint Chief, so I'll tell you guys later. It had to do with ice cream. She provided honest feedback and sound sage advice and had enough respect for me as an senior enlisted advisor to tell me when I got it wrong. As Sergeant Major Grinson states, this is my squad. CSM Renner was my squad. The expertise and experience that senior enlisted advisor in your formations, whether it's your platoon sergeant, your det sergeant, CSM first sergeant, will get you further than you really know. You just have to use them as a resource. Here's the other thing. Surround yourself with smart people and mentors. The silent often are the mighty. I had an NCO in my operations section named Staff Sergeant Hoffman, and we were planning to go back into Iraq in 2014 when I was forward at ARCENT. And all of us officers, colonels, lieutenant colonels, we were doing all this wonderful planning in the MDMP process, which I think you guys got experience to. And we were high-fiving each other because we thought we were going to get it right going back into Iraq, and we're briefing everything. And Staff Sergeant Hoffman is a brilliant NCO, and I turned around and I said, Staff Sergeant Hoffman, what do you think? And he took a crayon and he went up to, not a crayon, it was a crayon really, because we're all thinking we know what we're doing. He goes up to the board and he crosses all this out. This isn't going to work, but let me show you a way, right? But if you don't ask, you won't get that feedback. So I tell people, be really proud of your work, but I asked him to kind of help us think through a problem, and he fixed it. You just don't know what you know until you don't know what you know. The expert in the room was this quiet person, Staff Sergeant Hoffman, but I only had to ask. And not a day go by that I do not learn something. And when you think you know it all, you probably ought to ask somebody else for the most input and the most learning and thoughts. My failures have taught me much more, but they're better lessons for my success. I lost 5 soldiers in Iraq that I commanded in Baghdad in 2009. And the hardest thing I ever had to do in my career is write letters home to family members that I had lost their soldier, and they weren't coming home, and I lost their Navy commander. But my most humbling moments in my families is that those families invited me back into their lives after I came home, and I was part of their family now. It's amazing. So I'm going to share some tips on survival as a young leader. When I was a cadet, I always equated reading history with an assignment of a written paper. Is that still true in ROTC, that you have to read a book and then write a paper? Yes? Okay. But history is so important when you look at the hardest problems in moving into the future. As the Army moves forward towards multi-domain operations and large-scale combat operations, right? History lends lessons that can be applied today. History is a secret weapon of lessons learned through people who have lived through those lessons. I read all the time. Well, I actually listen to books because I travel all the time. So I download books on my phone. I don't physically read them. I'm listening to them while I'm doing other work. But I encourage you all, don't lose that. Just because it's a mandatory thing to read a book and write a paper, some of that I ask you to continue that. Okay, so here's some nevers. Regulations you can never violate, as you will certainly end up in trouble. Someone is always watching, and people always tell. However, doctrine is like Pirates of the Caribbean. They are guidelines anyway, but doctrine is the starting line from whence you will be judged by others operationally. Always, always go back to doctrine as your starting point, but being creative and getting after a problem that your boss wants has solved many problems downrange. Take prudent risk, but do your homework when you do that risk. It is not about being right, it's about getting it right. So it's not about being right, it's about getting it right. And I was a hard-headed lieutenant. I thought I was always right, and sometimes still am. Who else needs to know? Don't hold back in never knowing what a group of soldiers can do. Build relationships and partners with others, and often those relationships will get you far. learn your boss and know your boss's triggers and their pet peeves, right? And learn how not to violate them. So this is a true statement. I got a new boss about a year ago, 2-star General, Major General Robbins, my boss. And every time he would brief and we'd get feedback from him, I'd write his little pet peeves down on a piece of paper. And I learned those because I knew that if I was going to brief him, that I could take those pet peeves and I could work my conversation and make sure that, I didn't violate his rules, I called it, and also that I'm briefing to what he likes to know and see, right? So learn your bosses and your boss's bosses, because you're oftentimes probably writing at some point for your boss to his boss or her boss. And those are tips that help me kind of survive, I think. News does not get better with time. One of my old bosses, Major General Lee, used to say, you can't put lipstick on a pig. That's very true. It's still a pig. Sometimes bad news is bad news no matter how it comes. But don't hold it back. Always tell your boss bad news up front before they learn it from somebody else and not you, right? Never miss a suspense or deadline. You can always ask for an extension. Sometimes they'll tell you no. Be an asset to your boss. I have a sticky. It's just a yellow sticky on my wall. It says, be an asset to my boss. It's in my office today. Every time I go sit in my office down at our headquarters in Fort Gillem, I look at that and I read it to myself. How can I make the Army better for the soldiers out there on the battlefield? And that my job is for making my boss successful so we can take care of soldiers on the battlefield. Blowing off steam in private, then settle down and do the job at hand. Provide candid advice, just don't do it mean when doing so. That goes along with just being right, doing things right and not just being right. Being able to apologize and accept responsibility. So 2 months ago, I had to go to my boss's office and tell him, hey, I think I was out of line. I want to apologize to you for that, because I mull things over in my head and think about it. You have to have the ability to do that even at general officer rank, right? Just so you know that if a bunch of general officers fell off the cliff, there will be others to replace us immediately. And I tell leaders in the military that if you fall off the cliff today, someone's going to take our place. And that's the good news story about this nation, is someone's going to take our place. And you're going to lead the next generation along, right? You're going to mentor that next generation. And maybe someday you'll actually be standing up here and talking at a commissioning ceremony from an alma mater that I never thought I would ever come back to. So thank you for that. So before I want to end my remarks, I want you all to thank your family, friends, and cadre for helping you get here today. So all of you, thank you. Give yourselves applause for helping these young folks get to where they are today. Congratulations, graduates. You have achieved much. We are enormously proud of you, of your courage and convictions, and the commitment you have made to this country and this great nation. As of today, you will be officially known as an officer in the United States Army. What a more proud event could that be, right? But thank you for letting me be here, and I'm sorry if I got too winded. Hopefully, when you're 31 years down the road, still in the Army, and general officers, that you'll maybe remember that I spoke here. Maybe. Thank you.
At this time, we will transition cadets Victoria Brown, Delaney Hahn, Sebastian Venable, and Faith Willenbrock from Reserve Officer Training Corps cadets to United States Army officers. First, by reading the commission orders and then administering the oath of office. Attention to orders. To all who shall see these present greetings, know ye that reposing special trust and confidence in the patriotism, valor, fidelity, and abilities of Delaney Hahn, Sebastian Venable, and Faith Willenbrock. I do appoint them as second lieutenants in the United States Army to rank as such from the 16th day of May 2021. These officers will therefore carefully and diligently discharge their duties of the office to which appointed, by doing and performing all manner of things this unto belonging. And I do strictly charge and require those officers and other personnel of lesser rank to render such obedience as is due officers of this grade and position. And these officers are to observe and follow such orders and directions from time to time as may be given by the President of the United States of America or other superior officers, acting in accordance with the laws of the United States of America. This commission is to continue in force during the pleasure of the President of the United States of America, under the provisions of those public laws relating to officers of the armed forces of the United States of America, and the component thereof in which this appointment is made, done at the city of Washington this 16th day of May in the year of our Lord, 2021. Signed, John E. Whitley, Acting Secretary of the Army. At this time, Brigadier General Salisbury would administer the oath of office.
That I take this obligation freely. Without any mental reservation. For purpose of evasion. And that I will and faithfully. Discharge the duties. Of the office in which I'm about to enter. So help me God.
Please be seated. In a moment, each cadet will individually come forward to be pinned their lieutenant rank by their parents or loved ones and to receive their first salute. The time-honored tradition of exchanging the first salute between the newly appointed officers and the non-commissioned officer. The officer awards a silver dollar to the first non-commissioned officer who renders a salute to him or her after they are commissioned. The salute recognizes the new lieutenant's position of leadership, while the silver dollar represents a symbolic payment for the mentorship, support, and guidance received from the non-commissioned officer corps. By accepting the coin, the non-commissioned officer reaffirms their enduring support provided by the NCO Corps to the officer in the discharge of their duties. We begin with Second Lieutenant Victoria Brown. Second Lieutenant Victoria Brown will now have her lieutenant rank affixed by her fiancé, Kyle Shorey. Victoria is graduating from Millersville University with a Bachelor of Science in Government and Political Affairs with a minor in International Studies. She grew up in Lancaster, PA, and graduated from Manheim Township High School in 2016. While at Millersville, Victoria participated in the Millersville University Marching Band as a member of the Color Guard and as a member of the Student Alumni Association, serving as the organization's spirit representative as well as their secretary. In her time at Millersville University ROTC, she has served in key leadership positions to include platoon sergeant, company executive officer, and battalion command sergeant major. She also represented the organization as the Millersville ROTC student government representative. Upon commissioning, Second Lieutenant Brown will be branched as Adjutant General Corps in the PA Army National Guard. Second Lieutenant Brown will receive her first salute from Sergeant First Class Rivard.
Take him out, ma'am.
To the top.
Second Lieutenant Delaney Hahn. Second Lieutenant Delaney Hahn will now have her lieutenant rank affixed by her parents, Bruce and Gina Hahn. Delaney is graduating from Franklin and Marshall College with a bachelor's degree in public health biology. Born and raised in North Carolina, she attended high school at Cardinal Gibbons in Raleigh and graduated in 2017. While at Franklin and Marshall, she has served as the captain of the varsity volleyball team, was nominated for the Major Dick Winters Leadership and Excellence Award, and was a member of Chi Omega sorority. During her time in the BMB, Delaney has completed the 18.6-mile Norwegian Ruck March and Ranger Challenge team competition. As a 3-year ROTC scholarship winner, she has held the positions of team leader, squad leader, Public Affairs Officer, as well as Executive Officer. Delaney is branching Field Artillery in the Active Duty Army and will be stationed at Fort Stewart in Georgia after completing her basic officer training. Second Lieutenant Hahn will now receive her first salute from Sergeant First Class Rivard.
Take him out, ma'am.
To the top.
Second Lieutenant Sebastian Venable. Second Lieutenant Sebastian Venable will now have his lieutenant rank affixed by his friend, Specialist Rhett Matson. Lieutenant Venable is graduating from Millersville University with a bachelor's degree in applied engineering and technology. With a focus in drafting and design, Venable grew up in Manchester, PA, and graduated from Northeastern High School in 2015. Before attending Millersville University, he enlisted into the Army Reserves as a combat engineer with the 382nd Sapper Company. Within the ROTC program, Venable has served as a team leader, squad leader, platoon sergeant, and was the command sergeant major of the Marauder Detachment. Sebastian is branching engineers in the U.S. Army Reserves. Second Lieutenant Venable will receive his first salute from Petty Officer Second Class Andrew Troxel. Second Lieutenant Faith Willenbrock. Second Lieutenant Faith Willenbrock will now have her lieutenant rank affixed by her parents, Colonel Stephanie Willenbrock and her father, Pete Willenbrock. Faith is graduating from Millersville University with a bachelor's degree in sociology with a focus in criminology and a minor in military science. Faith grew up in Downingtown, Pennsylvania, and graduated from Downingtown East High School in 2017. While in college, she joined and became a leader of the Fellowship of Christians Athletes Club. She spent 4 years playing softball at Millersville University, starting every game she was physically able to, becoming the all-time Millersville home run leader with 48 career home runs. She holds the season and career home run record for Millersville and is ranked third in the PSAC conference. In 2018, she won All-Region First Team and All-Region Second Team. In 2019, she won All-Region Second Team and All-Conference and has been the PSAC Athlete of the Week 5 times in her career and led the PSAC in home runs every year she played a full season. She also was named the top 30 in the nation for the Schutz Award and awarded the Career Achievement Award by the Millersville Athletic Department her senior year. Within the ROTC program, Faith was awarded the Mower Board Scholarship and served as a team leader, squad leader, platoon sergeant, and was the commander of Bravo Company for both semesters of her senior year. Faith is branching aviation and will be spending the next 2 to 3 years at Fort Rucker, Alabama, completing basic officer training, SEER school, as well as her flight school. Second Lieutenant Willenbrock will receive her first salute from Sergeant Emma Lawson. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in another round of applause for the newest and most junior lieutenants in the United States Army. The new second lieutenants will now come forward and present Brigadier General Salisbury with a small token of their appreciation.
Ma'am, we want to thank you for speaking with us today. It was an honor to have you here. You are an inspiration. And on behalf of the Blue Mountain Battalion Cadets at Millersville University, we present this gift.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Please stand for the playing of the Army song. The words can be found in your program.
March on, sing a song with the army of the free. Count the brave, count the true, who have fought to victory. We're the army and proud of our name. We're the army and proudly proclaim. First to fight for the right and to build the nation's might. And the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won. And the army goes rolling along. And it's high, high, hey, the army's on its way. Count off the cages out and strong. For wherever we go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. Thank you for making this a special day for our commissionees, their family, and the Blue Mountain Battalion.